Hey, good morning. Trying something a little bit different today. Doing a little bit of coding. There we go. It's been probably about a week since I've looked at this code. Remember what I was doing? I just started a bit of a rewrite of the front-end application store for this app. I had decided I wanted to use Redux. Since the last time I used it directly was before Redux Toolkit was even a thing. Let's see. Right, so I made a counter just to get a sense of how these things are supposed to go. A Redux slice with some actions. And then, which is over here too. And I just need to start replacing, right. So I have existing store using RxJS and kind of a messy thing. And I wanted to replace that. So here's all of my existing actions from my kind of hand-rolled solution, which all just dispatch out to this events observable. And of course, right now, mostly these are not really actions in a Redux sense. They're really just triggers to then fire off some kind of request to the back end. But what I want to do, I think maybe I was intending to start with the settings page. Yeah. Let's see, I think this part is already done. Let's check that. So if I go to settings, cool. And if I log out and go back to settings, cool. It takes me back to relog in. Good. All right. Okay. Old to-dos can go away. Right, so this page has all of these things that are using this connect component function. Interesting. Right. Okay, so we have a update user settings action, and connect component is doing some lifting to wire that action to on change on the input. It's also managing local state, right? So we have temp settings and set temp settings. Question is going to be, as I look to replace this with Redux actions, do I want to continue doing this, or do I want to shift both the action where we save the changes? So the intent here is that there's basically two modes of inputs on this. Either some require a change, you type in some things. Ooh, that's really slow. And then you have to click save for it to actually be pushed to the back end. And then others you can change just by clicking the box or changing the value. And that immediately pushes to the back end. Probably should not allow future values in the birth date fields. Let's see. Is that on input props? Interesting. Let's see if that will work. Okay. Great. Okay, well anyway. All right, so I think I do want to keep the UI like this though, where there are independent save and reset options for the fields. Except for some that just immediately save to the backend. Do I... How do I want this to work? So ultimately what I want to have is I want to have user settings coming from the Redux store. And I want to at least have an action to something equivalent to this update user settings. Or maybe update user setting is really a better name for that, given that it's only ever used to update one thing at a time. Okay, so right, so despite us passing in, so we're looking at state here, and we're looking at the status, whether it was successful, or it's loading, or it's error. But of course, these things they affect every field, right? Because the state value is coming from not the state, but rather it's this user settings that's being returned from this. So all of these fields share the same value. So what I'm thinking is kind of the easiest way to make a little bit of progress on this, getting this away from it being tied into this results type, which is a type that was for this custom RxJS-based store, is to instead have it pass in something like, let's see, how would we do this? Data, which is of type T, or null, and loading, which is a boolean, and error, which may be something like that. Right, so then this goes away. And then this just becomes this. And that becomes that. And no more type error there. Instead, type errors everywhere else. Okay, so so this is supposed to be now the data, which which is user settings.data right now, and then loading, which is user settings.status equals status.loading, user settings.status equals error. Yeah, like that. Yeah. And we have to do something similar here where we say, okay, success or null. Okay. Eventually TypeScript will update, maybe. Okay, there we go. So that gets us, that brings us back to where we were just a minute ago. All right, distractions aside. Okay. So I think this gets us closer. Right, so really what we could do here is then take this information. Ultimately, this is going to be coming from the store, our new Redux store. But what we can do is we can just kind of pretend. So let's see here. We need to have, need to use a word besides data. Settings. It's not great because it's super confusing with user settings. Let's rename that then maybe to be result. Yeah. Const loading equals that. Const error equals that. All right, and then this just becomes settings loading error. All right, so everywhere we're using this. Just realized I should probably turn on, what is it, screencasting mode? Yeah. All right. I don't need that anymore. Okay, I think this gets us a little bit closer to being ready to reach from our, I guess it's going to be settings slice. thinking about how I want the store to look, right? So also still debating if I want to keep this use state and have kind of the temporary settings within the component. So I imagine I want something like so I want to have separate loading and loaded states. Because if not, this should start true. Even if we aren't actually technically loading. This is an interesting approach. Idle and pending. So they're using a thunk. And then in their slice, okay, let's get posts pending if fulfilled and rejected. So we'd want at least two thunks, right? One for loading the data and another for any kind of save operation that we're doing. And then we can just dispatch. Well, let's take a look at their data fetching API. I know I looked at this before. Since we're using tRPC, it's probably more trouble than it's worth to try to do that. So what is type? String of use generate additional Redux action type constants. Okay. Well, let's give this a shot. So, Copilot wants to create a fetch settings. Sure. That's kind of redundant. Let's just call it fetch. We don't have any other actions to export right now, so I'll leave that like that. All right, so in where even is it in this file? Oh, right. I think I have a wrapper function that, wait, no, it's not in here. It's in, not in create. It's in this function. Right. You have handle tRPC. Okay. Right, so this doesn't even have source. Okay, it's being passed into handle tRPC. Okay. Base tRPC coming from there. Great. Yeah, it's not right. Right, just tRPC path. So it's really just count. Yeah, get user settings. Dot query. Okay. What was the example? Right in there, extra reducers. You can do stuff depending on the status of this promise. Let's give it a shot. Hey. Interesting. It's a little bit different than what the example you're at. Alright, because this is, wonder. Yeah, so this is taking an object. It doesn't like that. String, number, symbol, or any. When was this posted? 2021? Alright. Promise lifecycle actions. Pending, fulfilled, and rejected. Object key notation or the builder callback notation. You should use the builder callback notation to ensure the types are inferred correctly. Okay. So in other words, this. Can we... Okay. Well, I don't want any. But it should be... Yeah, don't need this anymore. This payload. This and then that's not right though. There's a way to get the type of the Zod validator. I wish I remembered how to do that. Not like that. I know there was an example in here somewhere. At least I think there was. Huh. Ah. There it is. Let's do this. Let's see, export type user settings equals that. There we go. All right, and then settings state. All right. Error string or null. There. Expected 2 to 3 type arguments, got 1. Well, fine. If I were to simply do this, then it can infer everything. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Okay, so that gets us part of the way. Okay, yeah, and now this is like that. And then in this file, I don't think we need to even do this anymore, because I think what we're trying to do is can we do this here? I guess we're going to try to dispatch from the app. I guess a thing to do would be to summarize the browser. There we go. Go back here, refresh. Okay, I'll have to look at that in a second, but it seems like our action was dispatched. Let's go to the Redux tools. Oh, hey, look. Fetch pending, fulfilled and fulfilled. Yes, yes. If we look at state, we have a setting state. We are here, loading true, saving false. Good, good, good. We have settings. Excellent. Okay, so let's figure out what's going on with this error. A non-serializable value was detected in an action in the path payload.updated on. Right, because it's a date. Uh-huh. Right, so when we are doing the fetch, okay, well, let's see what the docs say here. Okay, well, that's interesting, because of course the type is a string. I'm not understanding what it's complaining about that. Redux state date object. Maybe there's something to make this easier. Yeah, I could. Yes. Okay. Here we go. Link. Yes. Come. No types, huh? would be amazing if it did, but I'm guessing no. Oh, okay. All right. Ugh. Well, that shut it up anyway. Save that. So now we have this middleware. And of course everything's broken right now because we have... actually, why is everything broken? This action is not assignable parameter of type any action. Okay. Okay. Do we? I see. Yeah, there are no actions here, right? Okay. Annie. Oh, it's just... Okay. Let's refresh. Okay, we're not getting any data, though. We're, of course, requesting the same thing multiple times for reasons. We are getting the data each time. So, what did I break and when? Probably... Oh, that's hilarious. Well, that's Ventures. Okay. So we get data. Oh. Okay. Right. So apparently it didn't like the syntax. Maybe that's not syntax. Okay. Okay. Yeah, look, data again. All right. Yeah, I don't know. Async thunk action is not assignable to parameter of type any action. Interesting. What am I doing wrong, if anything? to create use app dispatch function, use instead of use dispatch in component. Okay, well, let's look at package.json. Okay. Well, I don't have the React Redux types. Okay. Oh. Something I broke in here then? Huh. Nope. Nope. Okay, so then it should already be in there. Huh. Okay. Great. That shut that up. Okay, great. So, a little bit of progress. Back to settings. So, let's go back to our slice as well. And Okay. So despite all this, like, we're loading the data, we're getting like a loading state. There we go. I think I want to do it this way. Okay. And then okay. Nah, I don't think I want to do that. Do I want to do this? Maybe. Okay. So we can get rid of this. Get rid of this as well. I'm going to get rid of this and this. State will keep, so we'll keep this stuff. I guess we have to keep actions too. But now, where was I using counter? It was like on the, not on the main, like index. Okay. User settings equals use selector. Yeah. Yep. Okay, and select count came from there. Import store slices settings. What? Oh, I see, because right, value dot, this is settings. Okay, great. Okay, so we just call it select settings. I guess we'll just call this settings as well. It's loading equals Great. Some type errors. Settings that feels. Okay, for now we'll just say any. Oh, it should be a number. Okay, that's all the type errors. Let's refresh. Lots of errors. Interesting, interesting. Some broken things there. Hydration failed. Yeah. Let's see, let's try restarting the dev server then. On dev server. Yeah, lots of failure still. Hydration failed because initial UI does not match what was rendered on the server. Interesting, interesting. What have I done? Interesting. Obviously, I've changed a lot of things. Okay. Okay, so settings layout section is literally a section element. That's what it's complaining about. So I've done something that's caused the rendered tree to be different between what the server did and then what the client did. guess it was this. Just remove that for a minute. No, still problems. You can't tell me where though, huh? And the skeleton. Huh. Huh. Okay. Oops. All right. Take a break for just a couple minutes, stretch the legs, and I will return shortly. back to it. Thought I saw something in the console. Yeah, there we go. So on the server, settings null, loading false, error null. So, question here, if I were to just hard code this as null, does that make our issues go away? That should be telling. Loading true. Error null. Yeah, type error because it knows that settings.meals can never be there. Okay, so refresh. Okay, we don't get any of those errors anymore, right? So what if we use the selector? Okay. What if we always just say loading is false? That works too. Okay, if we use this, okay, get rid of that console log. Okay, so that's all fine, but it's when the loading state changes that there's an issue. What does list builder do on loading? It shows a skeleton-based rendering, right? Cannot update a component's settings while rendering a different component. Oh, this is in the hydration logic. Here we go. This doesn't show the annotations that we see here, right? So Next.js browser, loading false, loading false, loading false, loading false. Browser loading true. Somewhere in here I saw server. Server says loading false. Okay. So if I clear this and I refresh, it doesn't like that. Browser, server. So the browser says loading true. The server, is this? Okay, so the server says false, but the browser says true. And the reason for that is maybe if we go here, what if we say it's loading if the loading state is pending instead of not equal to idle? Does that make a difference? Oh, it's having fun. Okay. Let's go back here. Let's refresh this. So the server state starts with loading false. Huh. And does that because there's no context, right? Something like that? Redux uSelector SSR. Not super excited about doing that. What if I did this? I think fundamentally the issue is that by the time this component renders, the I mean, this should probably be in a use effect. Anyway. It's really not the issue, but it is. Can't be called conditionally, which means we can't do this. But I think that should be safe anyway, maybe? Right. So now the dispatch happens inside of an effect. So this initial render will still be before we start loading, which means it'll be consistent with what was rendered on the server. Yeah, whatever. It works. All right, so that gets us as far as loading the data through Redux. But what we're not doing is been saving out. Alright, so we're using this action, but this action is the actions that update user settings. And we want to provide a thunk to update a particular user setting. And then we'll need another one as well. No, just the two. Just the two. Export const update setting. That's a good guess. I don't want to do this. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, and then oops. If it's fulfilled, interesting. Don't think that's gonna work, but okay. If state.settings. All right. I don't know what action.meta.arg.key is supposed to be. Okay, that is the right thing. Huh. String or number or date or whatever that is, or null is not assignable to type never. This should be like as key of the thing. Oops. Is that? Oh, it already knows that, what that is. Okay, so we don't need that. Huh. What exactly? Okay, what is the type of X? Okay. Huh. I think I want to do this. let's do this. Let's look at action here. Let's move on and do the other case. Okay. So now let's refresh. Clear that. Click save. Something happened. No console log though. All right, haven't actually hooked up the thunk. So let's see. Our action here. Right. This is something. Key is field. Value is value. That's how the action will be called. Okay. I can pass it right straight through. Do we use actions for anything else here? Just for that, right? Oh, no. Okay, so bold actions. There we go. Say const dispatch. Value, dispatch, update settings, update setting rather, key value. Okay, and then this is replaced with handle save. Okay, and this has to change because we will pass in like this, and infer that. No. Okay, so this was wrong. Should be that, right? This looks like a familiar error. Didn't we already fix that? async void. All right, because this, yeah, that doesn't even return anything. No, that's necessary. Okay, returns nothing, takes a key and value. This one takes a payload, or rather takes nothing, returns all of this stuff. Okay, so I'm not, I don't know if that needs to be there. Okay. All right. Diff. Pending. Okay, that didn't change anything though. And what I wanted to see was if we, okay. Oh, hey, yeah. So we have this. So we have the meta here, and we have the payload. Payload's undefined because the tRPC call doesn't return anything. But we should be able to take the meta arg key and value and update the state with it. Definitely not that. RTK action update object key. Sure, something like that maybe. Let's try it. Unfortunately, I can't do that. But what we can do is that. String undefined is not a sample type string. Look. Right, because it's a writable draft, it may or may not have some things in it, I think is what it's trying to say. Look, I know what I'm doing. Maybe. Oh, hey, look. Okay, well, let's refresh. If I hit US specific and save, it does flash back for a minute because after we click save, the settings page component says, okay, I have done my job, passed on this information, and now I'm going to clear my temporary settings. And so there's a period of time in between when that happens and when we've actually fulfilled on the promise and we update the state. So could do is add a temporary settings object. Or unsaved settings into our state. And then our okay, yeah, we can get rid of this type now too. Set value. All right, so this wraps that. Okay, so we could if it's immediate, when the input changes, we save it, and we also save the value locally, which is weird. We shouldn't need to do this. If it's not immediate, then on change, we just essentially cache the value in our temp settings, our unsaved settings. And then we say that, okay, when we're ready to save it, go ahead and save it and then clear the temporary. So all of this feels like it should be in here as well. Going to have to stop here pretty soon for lunch, but maybe we can make a little bit more progress, or at least do some things to confuse future me. It does need to be an object. Yeah, we'll do like a unsaved settings, but we'll make it an object. I will say with an object for now. Maybe map would be more interesting, but and update unsaved setting. Clear. We shouldn't need to do that, right? Because what we'll do is in our property unsaved settings, does that exist on type setting state? Oh yeah, we haven't declared that yet. There we go. Perfect. And now we actually have an action to export out of this. And then when we successfully save a setting, we should make sure to remove it from unsaved settings. Like so. And then our settings selector gets more interesting. Definitely not that. I guess we could just do object at assign, empty object, other way around. We want to look at unsaved settings first, and then if there isn't anything there, then we'll look at settings. Now suddenly, this mechanism isn't necessary. This difference between initial and current value goes away. Data subfield, value subfield. Okay, so value is this, that. I see. So that goes away. And we do need a on update. Same thing. And then all of this logic goes away. Maybe. Maybe initial value goes away too. And instead we just have data subfield. And then set value becomes on update. Okay, so the point of this is to say, have we changed anything? Interesting. So you have this action to update unsafe setting. That's what we're doing. I guess we don't need that anymore. And I guess we just read props.value. Now on reset, we don't want to do that. We just want to say on reset. And we want to add a new reducer here. Clear unsaved setting. Sure. Any can't be used to index. Okay. Yeah. Then this goes away. Getting very close to okay, so then that goes away. So then we have settings, loading, error, handle save, handle update, handle reset. Const handle update. Okay. We can get rid of these things now. Now we're dispatching. Update unsaved settings. Okay. Const handle reset. Dispatch clear unsaved setting. There you go. With nothing. And then and I'll save. Whatever. Key value is not assignable to type. Oops. All right. I have to figure out how to make that happier in a minute, or maybe next time. And then now. Huh, okay, well I guess maybe this will work. Okay, settings.meals is undefined. Interesting. Okay. I think this is the perfect place to stop for now. Because this will give us something, some very clear, obvious things to fix next time around. All right. We've gone from a working settings page for the app to not at all working. So that's progress. A few things left to do. Maybe I'll make some notes here. To add I guess are we even using this? Yes. Okay. But we don't need to, right? Because we can just look at error. Right, because we have the thunk that is doing the updating and the fetching, and both of them will result in updating, either loading or error. So this shouldn't be necessary anymore. And so that shouldn't be necessary either. I can remove some of these imports. Oh, we do have some stuff we're still using the unwind that a little bit. There are still some things where we're using actions for the dialogues, but those don't use state. Okay, so almost completely remove the store, the old store. And then all right, saving. There we go. And oh, I already have that. I was ahead of myself. Okay, cool. And then we don't need this anymore. All right. I think at this point we have enough kind of examples of how things are supposed to work that we can remove the counter slice and the other example code that I had added before. Go. Cool. Have an extra line there. Oh, I see. And then yeah, I don't need this line. And that's fine. Fixing path, adding use effect to dispatch fetching settings whenever we load the app. We move some things around as well. Okay, so and we're on a branch, so progress and converting settings page to I think that's going to be it for this morning. I might come back later for some gameplay. TBD on that. But thanks for watching.